Zay, we good?
Thanks to everyone tuning in. We are just running some technical difficulties. We're running through some tests here, so just bear with us. We'll get started soon. Thanks for joining.
The things the United States get. As you know, last week, the United States Armed Forces performed one of the most spectacular military operations in American history, apprehending the outlawed dictator Nicolas Maduro for his crimes against the United States, crimes for which he has now been indicted and is in federal court awaiting trial. And he killed many people, millions of people, actually, and allowed jails, prisons, mental institutions, and
All right, all right, all right. What is up, everyone? My America First Patriots. Let's turn this off. How is everyone doing tonight? Welcome into episode 12 of Straight Talk with Isaiah Ascher. I am your host, Isaiah Ascher. Super excited to be with you tonight. As Nick would say, big show, lots to get into. We've got lots to cover tonight. And I'm sure many of you are joining us tonight because we have a guest that will be joining us in majority of the show. He's going to be with us the entire show. Going to be covering our America First headlines with us. We'll be covering flock safety cameras, and he's even going to stick around for the Left Wing Lunatics segment. So we're super excited about that. We've been talking for the entire week about this show, talking about what we're going to talk about, discussing flock safety, sending each other videos. So lots to unpack today. Super excited for the show. Lots of America First wins this past week, actually. So we'll be diving in about the dictator Maduro, who has fueled chaos throughout the entire world, especially on our doorstep here in the Western Hemisphere. We'll be talking about the tough law enforcement that we've seen on the streets from ICE agents, and then about Trump ditching wasteful globalist ideas. So getting rid of these deals with the UN, cutting off, I think, 66 organizations, if I'm remembering correctly. We'll get into that. And then, of course, like I said, we'll finish with the big one that I know everyone came for, the flock safety cameras, talking about what are they, who is flock safety, what are they trying to do, what is their goal, what are they trying to accomplish here. All that and more here on the show. Again, Shred from Shred News, the creator, will be joining us here today. All this and more in the show. Coming right up. Well, first on the list, we want to welcome our guest. He is famous for his social media accounts, I would say. He can correct me if I'm wrong, but many folks know Shred because of his growing social media following on multiple accounts. I believe he has 3 main social media accounts, if I'm remembering correctly. First and biggest being Shred News. Second, I believe, being America First Hub. And then I think the third being Alt Media Clips. Those are 3 different social media accounts that he's the creator of. And I posted a YouTube video today talking about this. And he has about, I would say, over 150,000 if you counted all the different types of social media accounts. Probably about over 150,000 followers across all these accounts. And so he's someone who's been trying to bring the America First movement forward. He's been trying to bring the America First perspective to the people so that any folks that are on TikTok, on Instagram, a lot of his clips are Nick Fuentes clips. And so, as we know, Nick's canceled on many of these platforms himself. And so the only way he can get that message amplified is from folks like Shred and others who are amplifying his clips through social media. So let's go ahead and welcome Shred on the show. Going to throw his camera up here. Hey, Shred, how you doing tonight, I guess? You're an hour ahead of me, so it's getting late.
Oh, yeah, it's about 9 o'clock here, and I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Doing fantastic. Do you want to give a little bit of an intro? I gave you a little bit of an intro, but what did I leave out? Tell us about yourself. Tell the people what you want them to know. You don't have to tell us everything, but what do you want the people to know about you?
Oh, I mean, I'm nothing special. I know you said I was famous, but really, I'm not. I have a couple of social platforms that I'm starting to grow and get bigger. I've been doing it for about a year now. So my main goal and mission with all of this is just to get that alternative right movement out there to the public so that they can see it and hopefully better understand it and maybe get some more people coming into that. So yeah, I'm not really here for money or any of that sort of stuff. I just want to get the word across and make people open up to this new idea that it's not just liberals and conservatives anymore. There's kind of these branches off that different parts of the party, I guess.
Yeah, Yeah. I mean, we were talking about that a little bit, about like bipartisan views on things, and how even we'll talk about that with Flock later on. I think we were discussing is how, this doesn't have to be a partisan issue, right? This can be a bipartisan issue where it doesn't matter if you're left or right. There's folks on both sides of the aisle that aren't fans of flock safety, and that's why I'm a fan of like that America First movement personally, is because it doesn't say, while a lot of the America First ideals, they obviously align with like the right and conservatism, there's a lot of people that maybe have more liberal ideas, right? They still flock, for lack of a better terms, no pun intended, but they flock kind of to that America First ideology. I guess you could call it, is that, hey, we want America first, we want America only, kind of isolationists, right? Not all liberals, but I've seen a few like folks that voted for Mamdani, for example, in New York City, that really like Nick Fuentes and things like that. So interesting. So I mean, thanks for doing that. Thanks for pushing the message out there. I know a lot of folks that watch the show here that are in my audience have seen your clips even before I sent them your clips. And so super excited about the show tonight, and then what we can talk about. So.
Oh, heck yeah. Yeah. And that's another thing about the American First movement too, is it puts both liberals and traditional conservatives together. So
yeah,
because we have these ideas that we kind of align on some places, but the media and all these big talking influencers and everything, they only talk about the ideas that divide those two groups. So we kind of find the things that we agree on. We know we have our differences, but we realize there's certain things we have to get to first before we can start worrying about most of the culture war issues,
Absolutely. Yeah, you have to care about the things that are actually affecting us and focus on those things, rather than, I think we were even talking about, funny enough, I was asking, Shred a question about something that didn't really have to do about America, and he had a great answer. He said, what, I don't really know, I really care about America. And I loved that answer. I was like, hey, that's a great answer, right? Because you're right. It's, what we've gotten dragged into is being like the world police, basically, in America. And so globalism has just risen and risen and risen, and we're just getting more and more pulled into that, that ideology of like, oh, hey, we have to care about this thing that's happening over there because we're America, when that's not the truth, right? That's, we should actually pull back from spending money overseas in Israel or Saudi Arabia or Egypt or, Qatar, any of these other places, and we should shift that back to the US and have affordable housing, right? And fix our economy. I saw Trump actually posted something the other day. He said, gas prices are so low everywhere. And he posted this list of states, and where I'm from, Missouri, happened to be one of them. And he said in Missouri, it was $1.88. And I was like, I have not seen gas at $1.88 in my state. It's like $2.60 still. And so I went on Gas Buddy, and I was looking all around in Missouri, and I couldn't find a single one that was $1.88. And so not that we want to bash the president or, continually take shots at the president. I voted for Trump. But, this idea that, gas is so cheap is just it's not a reality, unfortunately. And
yeah, no, like here in Ohio, gas is still almost $2.90, almost up to $3 here. So
okay.
I always see him saying that, but I've never, other than his first term, I haven't seen that reality anywhere near me. I mean, I'll go to some places like off the highways and stuff, and it'll be more expensive, but in smaller towns, it's a little bit cheaper and everything, but nothing ever below $2.
Yeah, and I think that's something that you and I even talked about when we were prepping for the show, is that, a lot of Gen Z is in, which you're, I don't know what the right verbiage is, but, a Gen Zer, I guess, right? And I'm a millennial. I'm in the younger millennial. They call it a zillennial, right? Almost a Gen Z, but still a millennial. And I feel like a lot of what your generation is just disillusioned, right? With Trump in this idea that he's saying all these things are good, but you can see the reality of like, no, it's not that good, right? And I would say it happened in 2016, but probably not as strongly as it is now, because he was coming out swinging so hard in that first term, and he didn't have donors, and so he wasn't a slave to the donors, as we like to say. And so now he is, and of course it kind of just aligns with his rhetoric isn't aligning with his actions, because he can't be as, he was making a joke in a press conference I saw recently. He said, "Oh, I want to say this, but I got someone watching and I can't." And I thought, what do you mean? Like, so you're thinking about what you're going to say because of who some specific person is watching you right now that you don't want to upset, versus I just think back to 2016 Trump, who he just didn't care, right? He didn't care what people thought about him, didn't care what people were saying about him. And I feel like that's what attracts Gen Z. You tell me if I'm wrong, but from what I understand, that's what attracted Gen Z to Trump, was just that attitude of, hey, we're done, right, with all this DEI and all this just craziness. We're done with COVID and, the lockdowns and all this stuff. And do you feel like that's kind of the right framing to say why Gen Z is a little bit disillusioned? Why with Trump now, where he's at, saying, for example, like we're just the example we used, gas is this low, but really your reality is that it's like $1 more per gallon or something. Like, would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, I mean that's definitely plays a big part into it, because one of the most memorable moments from Trump was when he was up on that debate stage and all the donors started booing. I think he made fun of Jeb Bush maybe. And all the donors started booing. He's like, "Oh, that's all the donors out there." He's like, "I don't need your money. They can boo me all they want, but I don't need your money. I have my own. I'm going to do what I want and you guys aren't going to be able to stop me." And when he did that turned so many people onto his movement and what he was doing. Because when he first started to run, he didn't even want to run as a Republican, but you have to get into one of the parties to be able to get the nomination, get just the platform you need with all the debates and everything.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people started to come towards him with moments like that. And when he looked at Hillary and he said, "Oh, you're going to be in jail," it was just how unprecedented he was with how he talked and pretty much everything he did, in my opinion. And I mean, just thinking back to that and where we are today with him, to where he's taken all of this money from the Adelsons and just all of these different donors from big tech, little tech, big pharma. It's endless. And that he's beholden to all these different people and these groups and these ideas that maybe contradict his own. And personally, in my heart of hearts, I think Trump wants to do a lot of these American first things and he wants to get them done, but he's kind of constrained by the money he's taken and who's in his ear now.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't agree more. I could, you just couldn't have said it any better. I couldn't have said it better myself. That is the problem. My friends and I talk about that all the time, is that he probably wants to do it, but he can't because of the donors, or because Netanyahu's telling him no, or Miriam Adelson, or someone else from some other civil rights group, right, that he's kind of aligned himself with. And so yeah, very, very interesting. And I think it's a good transition now to, speaking of Trump, to talk about some of these headlines that we wanted to cover, that we were setting up with the show. And first being something that I think an action that we like that he took, and that shows his true desires to be America first and to put America first, was capturing Nicolas Maduro, right? The Venezuelan dictator. And so just to kind of set everything up, if you're not familiar, on January 3rd, actually the night after our last show last week, right after the show ended, they launched Operation Absolute Resolve, is what it was called. They struck targets in Venezuela. They captured President Nicolas Maduro and his wife on their Caracas compound. He's in federal custody, it says, still now in New York, facing narco-terrorism and drug charges. And then, if you didn't know this, the United States is going to oversee the transition of Venezuela. So a lot of folks thought that Trump might put Machado, the person who they thought was rightly elected, they thought that he might put her in power. But I heard an interview where he said that he doesn't think that she has the support from the people inside of the government because it was all of Maduro's government. Everyone there is still Maduro's people, right? And so thought that was interesting too. And so,
Well, and also, didn't she get the Nobel Peace Prize or something over Trump?
yeah, that's another. That's something else people are saying, right? What do you think about that?
I mean, with Trump's ego, I definitely think that that could play a part of it. But I don't know. Most of this, it almost feels like theater to me. The way that
Yeah,
they brought him back here for trial and everything for American laws, like the how he was had machine guns or whatever, and I don't know how far that's. I mean, they might be able to get him, but I don't know. Something just feels so off about it. The way he was switching clothes all the time, smiling in there. And I don't even understand why they captured his wife either, unless, I mean,
I
maybe
don't
she was
either.
playing a part in it, but I haven't heard anything about that at all yet.
Yeah, that's when I was as shocked as you were. I said, him and his wife, like, for what reason? Was she some behind the scenes dictator or something like Netanyahu's wife? Like,
Hmm.
I don't know, right? Like, I'm not that well versed in Venezuelan politics, obviously, so I'm not super familiar. But again, like you said, there's no real explanation around why she was captured. I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm personally for, like, I think it's a good thing what we did in Venezuela. Like, I'm glad to be getting all the resources and the
Yeah,
minerals and just all of that stuff. But at the same time, I kind of don't like it because I feel like there's some places that just don't have, like, Rothschild, they don't have the banks, the centralized banks and
yep,
everything, and Venezuela was one of them,
yep,
and they didn't have, or they were trading in BRICS currency a little bit, which I'm not in support of that at all. Like, I think that needs to be shut down as quickly as possible, but it makes me conflicted a little bit because
yeah,
I'm for it in some aspects and I'm against it in others, if that makes sense.
yeah. I think that most folks kind of align on that aspect. Is that from like an America first viewpoint, right? Is that, and I would agree with you. That hey, it's great that we went and we took the oil. I think Trump today he was saying it's like I don't know 30 million barrels or something ridiculous, and so yeah, that's good for us because we didn't drill oil for 4 years while Joe Biden was president. And so now that we got to catch up, right? And that's what maybe some people don't understand is that it's like just because Trump's president and he gets elected and then he's in office and we can start drilling doesn't mean that tomorrow the gas prices are going to go down, right? But this influx of oil reserves is going to help. And something that I looked into, I don't know if you're familiar with this shred, but I was curious, like why, and I didn't even have this in the show notes or anything, but just thinking about it off the top of my head is that I was like, why did we capture all this oil? What was the deal, right? And apparently, when Hugo Chavez was in power, he seized a bunch of oil from us and from a bunch of American oil companies, and
Hmm.
then that's when he, you know, created the communist oil industry, basically a state-run oil industry in Venezuela. And so it was, a lot of people are thinking like, hey, why are we doing this? Because it wasn't really something that happened in our lifetime or around, when we were, but basically they're saying like, hey, it's retribution for what happened then. This is payback because you guys stole all that oil from us. So now we're just getting what's ours. And that's one of the reasons why he's distributing it to the oil companies too. And so um, that was super interesting. I was like, oh, so it's not even just about drugs, right? That's what they say about drugs.
Right.
Um, yeah, there's some type of revenge that they're trying to get through this too. And I don't know if that's a spin, right? Who knows? It could be another spin to get everyone off their back to do the World Bank stuff, like you're saying. I think that that's ultimately one of the things that they're going to do is they're going to set up the dollar. This is what they're saying is that they're going to set up the dollar as the currency. And so that'll help the US and then it'll help Venezuela because their currency isn't worth anything. And so, that's interesting. Like you're saying, it's like, I don't like that. I like that we did that, but I don't like this. And so
Hmm.
it
Yeah,
kind of,
It's a little bit weird because wasn't it right after COVID or during COVID was when Venezuela's economy was really it hit hyperinflation and it was doubling every day, the inflation.
Yep.
And honestly, I hadn't heard anything about that theory so far, but it sounds plausible in my opinion.
Yeah.
I I mean, if we're taking power there, there's no reason that they wouldn't implement the dollar just to get it circulating there and to have bring in another centralized bank because I
Yeah.
mean, the people who run those are Trump's donors pretty much if you know what I mean.
Exactly. No, 100%. 100%. That's exactly and that's why people are like, wait, so we're running Venezuela now? So what does that mean? What does that look like? And then, oh, they need a more stable currency. And so, of course, the dollar, which is also not necessarily that stable itself, right? Is but
Well, here's this is kind of a conspiracy. I haven't really seen it anywhere, but I just thought of it right now. And
yeah.
with the BRICS currency, you know how they're creating the gold reserves and the silver reserves to back their currency and everything.
Okay.
I
Oh, that's
almost
right. Yep.
Yeah, and I almost feel like America, like Trump wants to compete with that because he's talked about
Yeah.
BRICS quite a lot, and it seems almost that he's worried about it. So I feel like we're trying to collect all this silver and this gold and all these minerals and resources, not only for the AI Cold War race we're in, but also I feel like we're gonna kind of go back to backing our currency somehow. Like we had
Mhm.
all that talk about Fort Knox when Trump was running for election. We haven't heard or seen much about that, but maybe we're going to back ours with some of these minerals and resources that we're taking. And it's
Yeah.
almost like a war for these resources and minerals right now to see what kind of currency is going to take the lead and take the charge, you know?
100%. Yeah, that makes sense because a lot of people don't think that we have the gold that we say we have in the Federal Reserve. And so the dollar's technically a gold-backed currency, right? But, we can't see inside the Federal Reserve and see what kind of gold they have. And so they're telling us what they have, right? And so, and if we know anything about, business, anytime an organization or numbers are private and it's not like out in the public and you can't see it, usually some stuff that if it was public happens that wouldn't necessarily happen if it was public. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And, not to you know, say that that's necessarily wrong, but maybe there's some things that would be scrutinized if it was public, but you can do it because it's not so public, right? And that's kind of how I feel about this is that I don't really know if they have all the gold.
Well, and that's the thing too, is like before we took the dollar off the gold standard, I think all of that was public, wasn't it?
Yeah.
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 So after that, they were just able to go free will with whatever they wanted.
That's why they can just print, and keep printing and printing and printing. So many people asking about I see you guys in the chat. Don't want to forget you. I know we're having a discussion. Just want to throw this out. Thanks for everyone joining us. If you're just joining, be sure to like the stream, share the stream with someone, share it with a friend, share it with your mother-in-law, share it with a group chat, maybe even a left-wing lunatic who could get triggered by us. We love everyone. We don't discriminate here. Whether you're left, you're right, me and Shred, we love everyone. We don't, it's totally fine. You can send it to anyone. Be sure to subscribe, follow myself here on Rumble, YouTube, and X. Be sure to follow Shred News. I think it's at shred.news with a Z. Is that correct on X?
No, just Shred News, no dot or anything on X. That's
Okay.
what it is on TikTok.
On TikTok, it's at shred.news. On Instagram, it's at shred.
Yep, just Shred News.
Yeah, at Shred News.
That's what it is for everything except TikTok.
Yeah, TikTok. That's how it always happens, right?
Well, I had it, but I've had like 7 accounts deleted on TikTok, so I kind of gave up until about 2 weeks ago, and I'm starting to get back at it again.
Yeah, anytime I just say Nick's name on there, I get flagged as a violent extremist. So,
and it makes no sense to me because I'll see videos on TikTok all the time of Nick.
I know
his voice and everything, but I post his voice or his face or anything, and it or even just somebody mentioning his name, and it gets taken down.
Yeah, I did the repeal on TikTok, and they said, "Oh, sorry." Like, yeah, you're right.
I've never won an appeal of a Nick video. It's crazy.
because all I did was record a TikTok, promoting one of the streams. I was like, hey, tonight we're going to be talking about Nick Fuentes taking over the right, blah, blah, blah. I didn't even say anything crazy. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, violent extremism, take it down. So, so funny.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. TikTok, I'm not a big fan of it. All of my friends and my girlfriend, they always watch it and they send me videos on there, but I just never use it like that.
Yeah, totally understand. Cool, man. Well, that's Nicolas Maduro. Obviously, lots going on still, lots to even get into throughout the week. But we couldn't ignore that headline because last week, I don't know if you know the show. We do the show once a week. I think you know that on Fridays. So, it was like 2 a.m. It was like midnight. I think I was laying in bed and I saw the helicopters flying into Venezuela. I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Did this happen during the show or after the show? And yeah, it was pretty wild. And I think we even talked about like the potential war with Venezuela on the show that night. And so that kind of just blew my mind. But it didn't. Something I saw, completely off topic here, but Polymarket, like the
the betting website.
So
prediction market, I guess.
Yeah, it's prediction market, right? And so I guess people bet on there that we would like invade Venezuela was the verbiage. And they didn't win because we technically didn't invade Venezuela. We just went and captured Maduro. And so they were like super pissed off about it. Like, no, like we invaded Venezuela. And so everyone lost all this money thinking that they were gonna win because they considered it an invasion. But I just found that funny.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that at all. I woke up because it happened during the night, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I woke up the next morning. I saw all that stuff going on. I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah, super wild. Well, Nick, if you want to pull up the clip, or let's see, actually not the clip. I think we're going to be talking about the UN withdrawal next. I think we do have a clip for that if you do, Nick. Looks like you got it ready.
Yeah, I had this clip of Trump man talking about the Maduro thing, I think.
All right. Whenever you're ready.
Last week, the United States Armed Forces performed one of the most spectacular military operations in American history, apprehending the outlaw dictator Nicolas Maduro for his crimes against the United States, crimes for which he has now been indicted and is in federal court awaiting trial. And he killed many people, millions of people, actually, and allowed jails, prisons, mental institutions, insane asylums, drug dealers, drug addicts to pour into our country totally unchecked because of Sleepy Joe Biden's policy of open borders, the stupidest thing I've ever seen. We're getting them all out. The departure of Maduro makes it possible an incredible future for both nations, Venezuela and the United States, in which we will more closely integrate the economies of two major energy powers in the Western Hemisphere. Energy
what I was talking about.
Coming out of Venezuela was very small. One of the things the United States gets out of this will be even lower energy prices.
Yeah, I think that's the clip. Yeah, so that's what I was talking about earlier, is like the integrations of the economy is like he was talking about, right? And so that's what people were thinking is I don't know if it's confirmed yet or if it was just rumored, but that the dollar is going to be the new currency of Venezuela. So we heard there even from President Trump, like he's saying, hey, we're going to integrate these things.
Yeah, I haven't been on social media like all today. I just got off work and I was setting all this stuff up. But yeah, I think it's a smart move economically, but it's just I feel like it's gonna cause so many problems. It already has started some problems with Russia as just seizing that oil ship, and now they're telling us to go after them. And I don't know. I feel like it could definitely pop something off there pretty quickly, and it could get explosive.
Yeah, even like the leader of Colombia, he did the same thing. He's like, come after me, Trump, come get me then, right? And then now Trump's saying that we're going to invade Mexico too. And so it's like all these, South American, Latin American countries are taunting Trump. But, if we don't have dominance in the Western Hemisphere, then I do agree with Trump in the fact that, hey, we're at risk for Russia or China, like we were just talking about, is like they can take over and become even closer to us, right? And that's what we don't want. Now, on the contrary to that, I don't think that means we need to put bases in like Qatar or like we're doing. We have all these bases. I think we have like 750 bases around the world. I read the other day.
Yeah, and a lot of them are around China and everything. And I remember the first time I looked at that map where all of the U.S. bases are, and I was like, if China or Russia or anybody had that many bases in Mexico and along the islands of the United States, we would not allow that.
Yeah, would not fly. Yeah, 100%. And I think that's why we're getting so much pushback now, right? It's like we're getting pushback from them, and then you're getting pushback from the people in your own country saying, hey, we don't want to be globalists. We don't want to be, the world's bank and solve everyone's problems because we got all of our own problems, right? It was like, I'm in my 30s, and it was like so hard to buy a house. We talked about that the other day about, just how hard it is to just survive in the economy now. And it's like, man, everything that whenever I was going to buy a house, it's just like, oh, it's one more thing, and it's one more thing, and it's one more thing, right? And then you go and you get an interest rate, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's the interest rate, and that's like a good interest rate. Like, oh my gosh, that's terrible. And so,
and I mean, with buying a house, you're paying if you get a 30-year mortgage, you're paying like the first, I think it's 10 or 15 years just in interest on that. Yeah. It's crazy. And apparently just paying one more extra payment every year will take that down by like 5 or 6 years, I think, or something like that.
Oh no, dude, it will. So my pastor is really big on this. He educates us a lot on it. And then he really just worked with me personally and invested some time with me after I bought a house. He was super excited about that. And how he got to where he is, and he's pretty wealthy now, is like it started by buying one house and then the equity and then selling and then buying another house and then another property and another property, right? And so, but what he did is he made extra payments so that he could pay it off sooner, and then he leveraged that equity, all these different things, right? Just a smart money guy with real estate. And I looked at my schedule for the payments on my mortgage schedule, and for the entire year of 2025, the amount of principal that I had paid off was a little bit more than one mortgage payment.
That's crazy.
And so it's like all interest. And so I showed that to my wife, and she's like, okay, we are definitely making like extra payments, because that means that one of our mortgage payments basically lops off a whole year of payments for us, right? And so, yeah, just not to get too far into the tangent there, but you're 100% right. It's like, just making those extra payments will just chop it down. And that's
and then when Trump introduced, what was it, the 50-year mortgage?
Yeah.
Think about how much interest you're going to be paying on that.
No one wants that, right?
No.
And anyone
who wants a 30, really.
That's one of the things that, you're like, okay, this is just a Trump loyalist. This is not someone who really knows what they really want for America. Someone who's like, yeah, 50-year mortgage, let's do it, right?
Like if you were to get that, like you're 33, you said?
Yeah.
Imagine you'd be paying until you're 83 years old. Like,
it'd be outrageous.
You'd be lucky if you'd even survive that long, be able to enjoy not having to have a mortgage.
Yeah. And the reason they have to do that is because the payments are so high, right? It's like, I'll be completely upfront with everyone. My payment's like $1,680 something with insurance included and stuff, like all included into my mortgage. I think my principal payment's only like $1,200 or $1,300 a month or something like that. But I mean, that's not cheap, right? That's not cheap.
I rent and I pay $1,250, and we have, I mean, it's technically a 2-bedroom, but it has 4 that you can consider it. And $1,250 in a small town like mine is just, you can't find an apartment for less than $800 here. An upstairs apartment that's got 1 bedroom, $800. Exactly. When I first moved out of my parents' house at 18, I moved into this 4-way apartment house thing. It was $500. I got the downstairs, the upstairs. It was a nice studio apartment, $500. And they're going for $850 now.
You're like, wait, that's where I started? That's $800.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's like an average is like $2,000 a month. And just circling it all back, tying it all again, that's another reason why Gen Z's been so disillusioned by the Trump administration in this term. And I'm happy with the things that he's doing now in the past couple weeks. I've even seen a lot of critics of his saying, hey, what he's doing now, I'm liking, right? Now, like we said, is everything he's doing perfect? No. We're fans of some of it, not fans of other stuff, but I don't know. There just seemed like a window of time there where he wasn't like strong. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's like he was kind of like in a defensive position in a sense, instead of being the typical Trump of like, no, shut up, Russia. I'm going to tell you what to do. Right. It's like, listen here, Zelensky. And he kind of did that in the Zelensky meeting. But again, still, I didn't feel like it was as strong until recently here at the end of December. And maybe it had to do with the government shutdown. Maybe he was just trying to like appease the people during that time so they could get the government reopened or something. But yeah, now I feel like he's just coming. 2026 is like he's coming full swinging, like capturing Maduro, threatening boots on the ground in Mexico to take, to declare war on the cartels, which, the war on drugs is something that I've always been not the biggest fan of necessarily, right? But sorry, I'm getting some chats here. Guest mode on the chat. All right. So he's saying I got to enable something. I don't know how to do that. Sorry. I was getting messages here that I need to enable. I guess I need to enable something on the chat so like people don't have to make accounts. But
oh, that might be my buddy.
Yeah, like I don't see it's no big deal.
Yeah.
Well, one time for the gang, that was our guy. But yeah,
Yeah, that was hard. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, we'll get it figured out.
Yeah, sorry guys. I'm sorry.
But I mean, in all fairness, it almost seems like, and I'm not the type of guy to be like, oh, Trump's playing 6 million D chess,
Yeah.
But I almost feel like he was waiting because people thought he was going to come in and start coming after his political opponents or whatever. So maybe he thought they were going to hide their tracks. So he waited a little bit, let them kind of slip up, stop hiding all of that so much so he can start going after him. Because it seems like in 2026, he's actually starting to get a grip on things and move in and actually make seemingly make some change is what it seems like so far, I guess.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping he'll get into it because I'm not a Trump hater. I like Trump and I wish he would do all these things that he's promised and talked about because that's what we all want. And I just don't understand why he won't. Well, I understand why he won't do it, but it's just annoying, I guess.
Yeah. No, I agree. And some people say he waited because he was just waiting for the midterms because he really wanted to appease the base once the midterms came around because as we all know, it's a slim margin that we have in the House and the Senate and everything. And the Democrats are really focusing on primarying those specific seats so they can flip the House or try to flip the Senate. And so a lot of people are saying, well, he's getting more extreme now because he wants to appease back to the base that he was losing so that when he endorses someone, it's going to be more meaningful, right? And I don't know if that's necessarily... I don't know if that's working in his favor or not because I see people like James Fishback who are running for governor in Florida, right, who don't necessarily have his support, but just have such a good grassroots movement and have the support of so many people in Florida. I don't know if you follow.
I like Fishback a lot.
Yeah. And so just stuff like that is like, okay, is endorsing Byron Daniels really going to help him that much, right? Or is it going to hurt him? I don't necessarily. I think it can help a lot of people in different areas, right? Like it'll definitely help people in Missouri if someone needs to get endorsed because there's a lot of like Missouri is just big MAGA. It's either MAGA or you got TDS, right? You have Trump derangement syndrome, or you support Trump basically here. So his endorsements mean something here, but maybe not necessarily in some other, I would say more hardline Republican areas or. Just more conservative style, less liberal, right?
I mean that like with how Fishback's doing that in Florida right now, the same thing's kind of happening in Ohio with that Casey Push guy. I'm not exactly sure how to say his last name. It's like
Push one of them, right?
Yeah.
I don't know either.
But he seems really, really good, and he's not backed by anybody. He builds cars. Like, he actually understands how things work. He hasn't just been, oh, I went to college for, just the typical things that people go to school to get into politics for.
Yep.
He's an actual entrepreneur. He's built businesses. He's built cars. He has a Batmobile, I'm pretty sure.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, it's crazy. We need people like this who that's what that's the appeal that we had from Trump in the beginning, was he wasn't backed by anybody. He wasn't part of that. He was just out there. He wanted to make a change. He came in and he did it. And we're starting to see that now with some of these America First candidates, which I'm pretty excited about. But we're just going to have to see how much support they have so far, because we see it on social media, but how will that translate into reality is my question.
Yeah, and to votes, right? Because
yes, exactly.
The voter, a lot of people that vote are older people. And so the benefit I think we have right now is that Gen Z, I think in this year, is becoming the biggest voting bloc. If I'm not mistaken, they're one of the biggest voting blocks now. And so I think that will definitely influence a lot of it in one sense, but you're absolutely right. It's like, it all comes down to, it's not about support on social media. It's not about follows or likes. It's who turns up and actually clicks the box for you, right? And says, yeah, I vote for you. Because that's hard. People have to take off work. People have to, do all these things that you don't really think about. And, I'm running, we talked about on the show, I'm running for a local campaign, and it's not even anywhere close to the level of what these guys are doing, right? But it's like, man, I got to make sure I'm telling people to get registered to vote. I'm telling people they need to go vote, right? And then if they don't know how to register to vote, I got to tell them how they can register to vote. All these different things that you don't really necessarily think about, but are definitely required to push the election. And so, yeah, it'll be interesting year, since so many midterms are happening, to see how does the America First movement make waves. I think that this is the year of America First here in 2026. Before we go to our next segment here, just wanted to do a quick break for an ad, and then we'll get right back into everything here. Let me go ahead and pull this up. I don't know why it's not working. We might not do any ads. We'll see. There we go. Still haven't tried 1775 coffee? Now is your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped. Only 1,000 units. You're getting the black, bold dark roast that hits hard, the smooth medium roast, and the Vitality mushroom coffee for clean energy and laser focus, no crash. All single origin, small batch, toxin free, and mold free. Plus, you're also getting a gold spoon clip, because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. A frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's opinions, in a black 1775 tumbler. $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for $99. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wondering if it's actually worth it. And the spoiler is that it is. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something, just like Rumble does. Thanks to 1775 Coffee there for your sponsorship. Appreciate that. Getting back into it, Shred, we want to go ahead and just highlight the situation with the UN that we saw as well, and then discuss that. I'll share my screen. We don't have any clips for this, but we just have the fact sheet from the White House that we wanted to look over. President Trump withdraws the United States from international organizations that are contrary to the interests of the United States. Withdrawing from international organizations today, President Trump signed a presidential memorandum directing the withdrawal of the United States from 66 international organizations that no longer serve the American interests. This follows a review ordered earlier this year of all international intergovernmental organizations, conventions, and treaties that the U.S. is a member or a party of, or that the United States funds or supports. Here's some highlights they got: restoring American sovereignty, putting America first on the global stage. So lots of interesting stuff there. What are we thinking, Shred? Withdrawal from the UN and all these different organizations. Is this an America First win?
And yeah, I think it is personally, because this issue is kind of what got me into politics, because I started out as sort of a conspiracy theorist, and like the UN kind of controls everything before I started getting into the other stuff.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, they still do. It's just deeper than that. And they do most of the United States tax money we send to the UN and all of these NATO organizations. A lot of it doesn't, almost all of it doesn't get spent in America. It goes to foreign countries to help out with aid and subsidizing all these other countries that we should have no part in, because they're not helping us in any sort of way.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really good thing. I need to look into everything that we left. Like, I know it's the UN, a lot of the NATO stuff and all that.
Yeah.
But I think it's really good.
Yeah. Yeah. I think when you peel it back, I haven't peeled it back yet, super detailed, but my hunch is that it's going to be all good, because there were so many things that they tried to withdraw and cut back when Doge was, at its peak. Right. And then they're like, oh no, we need this on. Like, you guys cut something off that we actually need. And, there's some of that going on. Not a lot of it, most of it was, just blown up by the left-wing media. But there were like one or two things that I think that got turned off that shouldn't have been turned off. Right. And so I imagine that they've taken their time to review, go through all the processes that they've needed to. And there's probably a reason why it's these 66 organizations. There's probably ones that we're still a part of, I would imagine, that probably do serve our interests. But yeah, I don't know all the organization names, but I can imagine it's just going to echo some of the things we saw with Doge of like, it's like, oh, helping raise transgender awareness in Uganda, or something crazy like that like, wait, why are our tax dollars paying for that?
Right.
I have a hunch and a feeling that that's what a lot of these organizations have to do with, is it had to do with a lot with the Green New Deal, I think, or the Green New Scam, as President Trump likes to call it, right? And climate change and all that. So cool. Just wanted to touch on that. That was something big that happened this week. But the big story of the week, for the headlines, the last headline we'll touch on before we get into the main part of our show, is the ICE shooting that happened this week with Renee Good. And so I know Nick has some clips here. We've got two different viewpoints. We're going to look first at the viewpoint that everyone saw come out, and then we're going to take a look at the second clip of the viewpoint, because they got the footage from the viewpoint of the ICE officer himself. And so let's take a look at this clip that Nick's got for us.
Yeah, and real quick, I think this one is just a slowed down version of the first clip, but yeah, it's just slow.
Yeah, it's like in slow-mo.
Yeah.
All right, and yeah, you want to show the second one too? And then, like I said, this is going to be from the viewpoint of.
Change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen, former fucking veteran. You want to come at us? You want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out of the car. Get out of the fucking car. Get out of the car.
Whoa!
Well, there we have it. Wow. Those some wild clips there, Shred, that we saw.
Did he call her a fucking bitch after he shot her?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. No, that
I
was
mean, I would too.
yeah, I know, right? It's like I was
I just didn't see that part. I probably would have too, but still.
no, that was like an article, Nick. Like they're like, because she says, I'm not trying to hurt you as he's going by, or she says something to that effect, I think. And like, that's what the article says. I'm not trying to hurt you, fucking bitch. Is like the second, sorry to cuss, but sorry for cussing, like Sketch would say, right? But yeah, that was crazy. And I'd love to hear your opinion, Shred, like just seeing it and then not having that second clip until we saw, I think today they released it. And so, but when I saw it, I'm still a human, right? I think that part of the thing that really, I would say, it's a harsh word, but radicalized me was Charlie Kirk's assassination and then how people were celebrating his death, right? I don't think that, you should necessarily celebrate someone's death in America, no matter how much you disagree with them, right? I think that anyone dying is a bad thing. And so when I originally saw the first clip and I told my wife, I said, wow, hey, looking at it, he probably has the right ground to have shot her, right? But from the first clip viewpoint, it didn't seem that bad, I would say. And I'll use that term lightly. Bad is like, it was just the viewpoint you had. The point of view didn't look that bad. But then when I saw the video today get released of his viewpoint, I was like, oh, dang, you can clearly see him getting hit and almost run over. And then on top of that, I don't know if you know this, but he just got out of the hospital. He was in the hospital for 6 months because he was hit and dragged by another left-wing lunatic who ran him over and drug him for 300 feet, and he had gashes and road rash and everything all up and down his body. So he just got out of the hospital. So not only, does he have ground to stand on, but he also has like the trauma that he's dealing with too. And so that's kind of like how I worked through it in my thought processes. But what were you thinking, and what kind of discussions were you having, Shred, around this?
I mean, obviously any loss of life is a tragedy. We don't want to see people getting unnecessarily hurt or losing their lives over things like this. And I wish that they would understand, like these radical leftists who want to interfere with these federal operations and interfere with ICE and everything. It's not a game. You might be playing it on social media to get some likes and get your community all happy and riled up, but it's not a game. You are playing with people who have guns, have the authority to kill you if they feel like their life is in danger, which as an enforcement officer, I would always be on edge. I would always think somebody's coming to hurt me, coming to kill me, or do whatever,
Yeah.
I would be on edge. I understand why he did that 100%. And I don't want to say I want to see it happen more, but I want people on the left to realize you aren't fighting with just some random person on the street. You're fighting with the federal government, and they don't play around when it comes to their officers. Or like, if you kill a cop, you get in so much more trouble than if you kill just a normal citizen. And that might be wrong, but that's just how it is. And they want to play it. They just want to play it like it's a game. And I feel like we needed a situation like this to kind of show them that it can get real. I mean, I don't want to see it happen anymore. I didn't want to see this happen, but we all knew it was going to get to this point at some time.
Yeah. And not to get too philosophical, but what it really all stems back to is, the ideology of a lot of what the left believes is the same ideology that the Church of Satan follows, actually. And so there's a guy called Aleister Crowley, and a lot of his ideologies are what the Church of Satan adopted as their theology. And the phrase that he came up with and then was adopted in the 60s, and I'll talk about how it was reframed, was he said, "Do what thou wilt. That is the whole of the law." That's like the satanic Bible. That is like their law. Do what thou wilt, right? Which is do what you want, right? Do what feels good. My truth is my truth. Your truth is your truth, right? What I think is right, and what you think is right, but there's no actual right. You see what I'm saying? And so like that's where the left is coming from, and it all has to do with like, what's called modernity and post-modernity and all these ideologies of coming out of the Enlightenment and liberal ideologies just coming in. And I had a professor in college who just like really, he was kind of crazy, and you couldn't really understand a lot of what he said because he was so smart. He went to like an Ivy League school and stuff, and I just went to like a small Bible college, and so he's like way smarter than us, but he's talking about modernity and post-modernity. And the most memorable thing I remember from that class is that he brought a lamp in, and he said, if post-modernity continues, then one day I'm going to be able to marry this lamp. And he just like slammed it down like that. And like everyone thought he was ridiculous back then. This is like 2011, 2012, right? But fast forward to 2025, 2026, I don't think he's far off. And so having that experience in college and then just living through it, it's really awoken me up to the idea that, man, the left really thinks that whatever they think is right. And you can't even, it's not even so far as like, you can have your truth and I can have my truth. Now it's like, no, my truth is right and you're wrong. So let's just, you just need to be wiped off the face of the earth or something. Right. Which is like the same thing that Nazis basically said, right? Is that, hey, you don't agree with us, let's wipe you off the face of the earth. And so another ironic thing is that I think that the left calls the right Nazis when a lot of their ideologies embody a lot of the same, philosophical and political beliefs that the Nazis actually held to, being a socialist party. So that's my rant, but.
Well, yeah, and with like that comparison of the left and the Nazis, like the Nazis wanted to get rid of the Jews, so they say, and everything, and the left wants to kind of
not just the Jews, so many anyone who wasn't an Aryan. That's like that's where I think a lot of people have, and we talked about this, like my dad being Jewish, like a lot of people think that I'm always going to go with the traditional narrative, but problem a lot of people have with the Holocaust that young people have is like, it's always the Jews, but more people than just the Jews were killed in the Holocaust. It's like 5 to 6 million Jews were killed throughout all these different countries in the Holocaust total, not just one area. But then you had, Romanians, I think you had gypsies, black people, right? Had transgender people, even back then, right? Gay people. It was all these people that were, ostracized by them, and because they didn't agree with them, right? Like you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I have a lot of questions about everything. We don't have to get into all that today and all that, but I agree with what you're saying, like for the most part. Like I do agree with most of that for sure.
It's wild, dude. It's wild. And that was a rabbit hole I went down myself, and I was like comparing side by side, what does the left believe and what does the Nazi
I made a video about it last year, actually. I took it down because I just didn't have the best quality of production and everything, but it was comparing Kamala to Hitler, like what Hitler would have wanted.
Wow, man. Yeah. Man, we might have to bring that back. We might have to collab on something like that, because something that I completely agree with is like just writing bullet points down and putting them next to each other, right? It's like would be super interesting to see is the alignment there is out of control. So, well, cool. I don't want to belabor any longer. We want to get into the last part. Usually we go about an hour and a half, and so this gives us about 30 minutes to dive into the Flock cameras, the Flock safety organization, the Flock company.
Flock cameras.
Yo, Flock. Oh, looks like Nick's pulling up some videos for us there on the back end. And so just want to set the stage. I think Nick's got an overview video here, just setting the stage about what Flock cameras are. So let's take
like two little overview ones real quick. You know what I mean?
Let's do it.
Cool. Is it just me or is this lady look AI? Let me know after we're done watching this.
Okay.
Looks AI to me.
Flock cameras are the main thing that law enforcement uses now to catch criminals. That's what it is. As clear as I can say it. What we'll do is I'll put a picture of a flock camera on this so that you'll see it. But they're everywhere. Once you see this thing, you're going to realize that you see them everywhere. It is a camera that is positioned to capture your license. That's what a flock camera is. But these cameras capture more than your license. They can capture the interior of your vehicle as you drive by these cameras, especially the positioning of the camera. And it's legal. And so what happens is this camera captures your tag. And when it captures your tag, it's able to detect where your vehicle has been anywhere in the United States where there are flock cameras. If you're in Georgia and you travel to New York, every time your vehicle tag gets captured by a flock camera, it is entered into a database and they're able to track it.
And you said you had one more. Oh,
She does look AI, but I can't tell 100%.
I couldn't tell either. I was like, man, she could. But
Safety's condor.
oh wait, 1 second, Nick. Sorry. There we go.
No, you're good. It just started autoplaying, but yeah, here we go. I don't think she was AI too. She was just like very still, you know.
I
Right?
thought she was until she moved her hands apart.
Yeah.
I'm just turning my camera off so we can see this guy in the corner there.
You're good.
These are Flock Safety's condor cameras. And a YouTuber found the live video from these types of cameras for him and anybody else online, all without a password. They allow police to watch an area like a park with 360-degree views and track people with AI. YouTuber Ben Jordan found the data leak online with an internet search. He showed me how he was able to see when people left their house or left their kids alone at a park or even went on a jog by themselves. He says he hopes his findings make municipalities better vet third-party companies setting up any type of cameras for law enforcement.
This is all moving too fast, and at the very least, we need to make sure that they're secure.
Flock Safety says the leak only affected a small amount of users and did not affect Vero Beach. I got an email Flock Safety sent to law enforcement departments about the issue, saying a sensationalized YouTube channel inaccurately portrayed the extent of this access, calling it a coordinated attack from the same activist groups who want to defund the police, weaken public safety, and normalize lawlessness. These are Flock Safety's.
Wow. I mean, every time I watch a Flock video, it just kind of makes my jaw,
camera.
You know, because I'm just like, wait, that's a real thing in America? We really have this here?
And it was implemented so silently, too. It was like they already had tens of thousands out before anybody heard anything about this.
Seriously, I didn't know anything about Flock. I hadn't heard about Flock, didn't know what Flock was. And a buddy of mine says, dude, no, you need to do some research. This is, I think, like a year ago, maybe. And then I was like, wow, this is getting ridiculous because as you know, Shred, I live in the country. And so where I lived at before we bought our house was still a little bit in the country. And we had a townhouse in like a little country city, I would say, right? And thankfully, no Flock cameras had made it there, and no Flock cameras are here. But just in the town next to me right now, there's Flock cameras, and then the town next to that one, there's Flock cameras. And those are the two towns that are between where I was and where I live now. And so that means that while I was moving, how many, they probably took 50,000 photos of me in my U-Haul going back and forth from our townhouse to my house, just driving and taking these license plate photos, taking photos of me, taking photos of, unique identifiers on the vehicle so that they can have all of this data so that if, say, I got into a hit and run, they can say, okay, it's a U-Haul with 3 scratches on the right side and, a yellow bumper or whatever, right? And so it's not just, and that's why I wanted to raise more awareness around, and why I think you as well wanted to raise more awareness around, is that it's not just like reading your license plate like they make it sound. I think we've all are familiar with license plate readers and like maybe a cop pulling up at a parking lot and scanning license plates and things like that. That's pretty old not old technology, but it's not Nothing super out of this world, right? But what takes Flock to that next level is the AI. So now we have AI integrated, and I think we were talking about the Walmart cameras even, right? It's just with AI cameras and the systems now, they just know everything about us, and it's so predictive.
Well, and that's another, like, if it were just recording, I would still have an issue with it, right? Like, but it wouldn't be as bad. But the fact that it's searchable, the fact that it's all saved in a database and they're able to search for a specific thing that they want to see. They could look up cat running across the street, car turning right onto Canal Street or something, like it's all searchable. They can find whatever they want whenever they want, and they can integrate that. Let's say they create a social credit score in the future. Let's say certain things like that. They have all this information. They're able to, I mean, it goes into a lot deeper stuff. I don't know if you want to get into that today. Like I was telling you about yesterday, it might be too deep, and it might be like a whole show itself. But it's the searchability part for me that really turns me off to the whole idea of this.
Yeah, and that all comes back to, and we'll dive into this a little bit, but I like there's so much that we could get into, like we talked about when we were prepping for the show, and it's like we can get in so many rabbit holes or so many subjects we could cover. And even talking about Peter Thiel, we were even talking about that, right? And started getting off on our tangents with our discussion the other day.
Yeah, you put me onto that. I had no clue about that at all.
Yeah, Peter Thiel, if you guys don't know, Peter Thiel invested into Flock Safety, and he owns Palantir. And so now Flock is integrated with Palantir, and Palantir is a law enforcement platform that aggregates data, makes it searchable, all those things like you mentioned, right? And so Flock, it's one symbiotic system now where they're getting the information, they're ingesting all of this data, they're able to organize and aggregate all this data and make it searchable and make it displayable and easy to read, right? That's the power behind it, because it's easy. Sometimes it's easy to capture data, but it's not easy to make it searchable. It's not easy to present the data, not easy to make it easy to read, and all these different things, right? And that's what they have to do, is they had to figure out, okay, if we take Joe Schmo off the street and put him through 8 weeks of police training and get him in a police car, right, and he's patrolling the streets, he's got to be able to know how to use this platform. And it's not like they're all technology experts, right? And so that's a whole, again, we could get into that whole rabbit hole like we were talking about with Peter Thiel and Palantir. So interesting. I see like Nick has a clip here, and I think what he has is actually, we're going to hear from the CEO of Flock himself talking about what is Flock? What is he trying to accomplish with Flock, right? Because I think we all really want to know that. What are you trying to do, sir? What's your goal here?
If you look at the core premise of America, is economic mobility. Yeah. I want to do better than my parents. I want my kids to do better than me. You have to have three things to do that. You have to have food, right? And to Ben's point on privatizing, like you look at one of the biggest issues in poor communities, it's a lack of sourced food. Second is you have to have a shelter. Okay. Third is you have to be safe. If you don't have a bedrock of safety in your life, nothing else can be done. Yeah. Everything your entire mind becomes occupied by, can I actually walk to school? Yeah. Will I make it to 18 years old, 21? And so if you look at that, you go, by privatizing, you remove a core tenet of economic mobility, which is what you see politically, where we start to say, I don't believe in the American dream anymore because it didn't work for me. And that's, I think, the fundamental risk is actually like that we have a generation of kids who don't think America will work for them. Yeah. And I think that's actually a huge problem. If you look at the core premise of America.
Wow. So I want to hear from you first. I have so many problems with that, but let's see. What do you have, Shred?
I mean, I don't know. I kind of want to hear your take on this first, to be honest.
So the thing that really triggered me is just the fact that he's like, oh, what do we need? We need three things in America. The third, we need to be safe, right? We need Flock cameras because it's just a core tenet of America and what we need to be an American and live the American dream, right?
It seems like that's what they always say about everything, like the Patriot Act or with COVID's having to stay home and all of that. They're always saying, "Oh, we're trying to keep you guys safe. We're trying to take care of you." And it's never that. There's always a control aspect or some other sidelined issue that they don't want to talk about.
100%. No, that's I was hoping we were going to agree on that, because I think that's one of the biggest problems with Flock.
And don't get me wrong, it can be used for safety. So it's not like they're lying. They're just exaggerating that one point so you don't look at all the other long list of points.
Exactly. It's like, hey, I know there's 89 bad things here, but let me just point out the one. Do you see? It's really good. I promise. Right? This is a really good thing. And so
it's crazy.
That is
They're masters of deception. They know how to manipulate people. I mean, when you're in business like that, you have to. It's almost part of the game.
Yeah. A funny joke I just thought of is, it's kind of like Joe Biden's administration, right? It's like, oh, look at this one good thing we did. Yeah, that's but I chose that clip because I just thought it was so outrageous how he thinks that we need Flock to just live the American dream, to be Americans. And he's saying, even you, Shred, you as a Gen Zer, you're just so disillusioned with America that if you don't have this safety and you don't feel safe, you're not even going to be able to live your American dream. Do you feel that way, Shred, as a Gen Zer rising? Do you feel like you're so unsafe that you have to have these cameras in place to make sure that you can live your American dream?
Well, what I would say to that, and my question for it would be is, did the people who built this country and actually made the American dream a thing, did they have this? Did they need this to be able to do that? No, they did all of that without any of this technology at all. It was dangerous. They had duels in the streets over disagreements. It wasn't safe. Things aren't meant to be safe in life. Life's a risk. Life alone is a risk. Every action you take every day is a risk. You have to have that to progress and evolve in life. Without risk, you're not going to grow. You're not going to mess up. You're not going to succeed, learn what to do right and wrong. They just the whole premise of that doesn't even make sense to me. They didn't have that when the American dream was created, so why would we need it now to have it?
Yeah, that's kind of my thought too, is okay, we all think of the American dream, we think of like maybe like the 60s or like the 80s, before any economic problem in the 80s, but it's like, okay, white picket fence, 2 cars, mom's staying at home, dad's going to work, right? The dad could be a shoe salesman and make enough money to buy a house and have 2 cars and stuff, right? And it's like, we're nowhere close to that. And so I don't think Flock safety is going to get us back to that.
No,
right?
Like with my grandparents, my grandpa worked at a factory here in town. My grandma worked at a developmental center for kids with special needs. They bought 12 acres in a college township, built 2 houses, and they did that. They built the houses by themselves, which probably saved them a lot of money, but they did all that on simple jobs, like almost just a little above minimum wage. And that was probably 50 years ago now. Yep. And just to think about how they bought that land for $12,000, 12 acres in a college township. It's crazy.
I wish I could do that, right?
I know. I wish. I mean, luckily me and my siblings will inherit some of that. So I'm lucky, but most people don't have that,
Yeah. No, I'm super blessed not from my family, but my wife's family, they have 375 acres. And so we'll be able to inherit some of that eventually.
Sheesh, that's crazy.
Yeah, I know. But again, it was all because of Bella's grandpa, who, I mean, is probably the stingiest person. I'll be completely, just completely upfront.
Hey, he got there for a reason.
Yeah, he's there for a reason. But again, he had a good paying job, nothing crazy. He was better than normal, I would say, because he was like an engineer, but also nothing outrageous, and just worked the same job for 25 years, retired, got his retirement, and then he just worked his investments himself, bought the property. Yeah, he bought 10 acres for this much, and then he went from the 10 to the 25, and then they bought that 375, and then they sold this 25. Then they bought the 25 for 10,000 and sold it for 700,000 or something stupid. That's and it's crazy. Oh my gosh,
I wish
totally,
I'd go buy it right now if it were like that.
Yeah. And that's what we're trying to get into, is we're trying to start our life just how they started their life, but we're having so many economic hurdles or difficulties where it's like, man, 12 acres is a lot of money. And then what if it doesn't have a house on it yet? Then you got to fork out more money to build a house or get some type of like manufactured house there temporarily while you build the house later or something, right? And so that's, again, part of the problem with Gen Z, right? It's just the disillusionment, but has nothing to do with flock safety cameras, has nothing to do with the safety that, like you're saying, has nothing to do. You don't feel like you're not going to get your American dream because you aren't safe enough.
Almost the opposite, actually. I feel like with all that tracking and everything, it takes away the American dream, because one little speeding ticket or ran stop sign or light or anything like that, you're just going to be losing money, and it doesn't even have to
That's
do
a
with
good transition. I wanted to transition to talking about the Fourth Amendment violations that we fear with flock, right? Is that, something that you had mentioned that we've talked about is the scare or the potential of a similar Chinese surveillance state, and then further down the line, a social credit score, right? By tracking everything that we're doing and all of our movements. Like, I mean, I don't know if everyone realizes, but if you drive from New York City to LA, they will know that you drove there. They'll know everywhere you stopped. They'll know all the stops that you took, what you did on those stops, and how long it took you. And then they're going to know if you took a different route back to go back to New York City. And then if you do go a different route, that's going to raise red flags for them, right? And so that's what we're talking about, is this constant surveillance state, and why I personally am concerned about, potential Fourth Amendment violations or concerns, tracking and searching and warrantless search and seizure and all these different things, right? And so let's talk more about that, though. So we were talking earlier about, the social credit system. What's your concern with something like that? What do you see in China that we don't want here in America?
I mean, I think when you have no privacy, everything's tracked, you don't have freedom at all. If the government can view every aspect of your life, your finances, your personal information, just what you do on a daily basis, like, I know we already have our phones and they can track what we watch and all of that sort of stuff, but it's different when it comes off of the phone and into real life. Like, you don't have to have a phone on you anymore for them to know where you are, what you're doing, what you're driving.
No.
You can walk by that thing. Like, that's the thing. You don't even need a license plate. You can walk by it. It'll scan your face, register it in that database, reverse image search you through whatever database the government has with all our images.
Yep.
And it knows how to do all that itself. So I don't think there's any freedom with that. And once we lose freedom in America, that's a big issue, because we're not going to have the freedom. Like, even now, people are kind of scared to go and protest and stuff. They wear masks and all these different things, 'cause, like, with what happened with January 6th, you don't know what's going to happen. Even if you're just in a certain place, you could get flagged.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's kind of where I think a lot of, because I would say, just in my personal experience, I'm just a little bit older than you, and so I got to see how, my dad was telling me, oh, cell phones are terrible, you don't want a smartphone, and I was like, no, Dad, I want an iPhone, and he's like, you're selling your soul basically you're selling everything away, and I'm like, no, I need it, right?
Gotta be cool.
And yeah, I gotta be cool. And so, like, a lot of the right really favored the surveillance for a while because of Law and Order, and it wasn't this advanced, I would say, right? Or maybe it was advanced in the back end of things and like with the government, but maybe we didn't know it was that advanced, right? It didn't seem that advanced, I could say, right? And so a lot of the right was okay with a lot of the surveillance, and then we started seeing here in Missouri, I specifically remember it was these red light cameras that if you ran over the line, it would take a picture of you and then it would just mail you a ticket. And then that was a big deal for Missourians. And now they got them all taken out because they're like, that's unconstitutional, like all these different things, right? But then, we got flock cameras in place now. And
Right.
so, and I think it all happened, like you're saying, just things because just getting around different ways, or it's a private company, not from the government, but it is government contracts. And I think there's just so many ways they kind of got around different things.
That needs banned too. The fact that because the government does go around all these restrictions they have, and they go to a private company like they did with Twitter and all of that, Facebook and all that, and they just completely circumvent all the restrictions they have in place, and that needs to be fixed.
Yes, 100%. That's where I think a lot of the younger generation differs from the older generation as far as the right goes. And like I'm caught in the middle. And so like I got to kind of get to see is that, the oligarchy is what we could call it, right? The big tech oligarchy. And when you use a term like oligarchy, people are triggered because they think of Bernie Sanders. He says it like every day, probably 25 times a day. And so it's like, you think leftist, you think liberal when you hear the word oligarchy, but in function, big tech is an oligarchy. They are a monopoly. They are controlling so many different things. And while there's things that are maybe less limited now than they were with the Biden administration, there's still limitations, right? TikTok, me and you were talking about that today, right? Things posting about anything we say. If we just say Nick Fuentes' name, our videos get flagged as violent extremism.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't say anything violent or extreme. I just said someone's name, right?
Yeah, and neither has Nick either. That's why I always get confused. He's never called for violence. He's never heard any, other than the lady that showed up at his house uninvited and harassed him. But other than that, I mean, so many people have issues like that,
Yeah, and it's like, I would think it would be something, they would try to get him for something else, like they try to usually get him for like, hate speech or something like that, right? But it's like, no, violent extremism. It's like, that's a little far out there. I don't know about that, right? I can't see what you're, I can't smell what you're stepping, and I can't really align with that, right? So how do we, where do we draw the line then, right? Is like, I think that's what I was talking about earlier, is that, the younger generation is really disillusioned with big tech and this oligarchy. And so I think that a lot of people don't want flock safety cameras, but we had talked about how the younger generation is just becoming more and more outspoken, and then they're just becoming bigger voter blocks. So I think we're just seeing them represented more than normal. And so what do you think the solution is? Do you think it's just to get rid of flock? Are there limitations that we should be put upon flock, and we can still have them operating in a certain, because I know you mentioned like, okay, if it's recording, hey, like, I got to agree with that too. We should all be able to have the right to go and record. And so a private company can put up a company and record too. That's their right, just like it's my right. I personally draw the line at like the AI, the searchability, the aggregating data. But like, where do you guys, as the younger generation, what do you guys care about? What is like invading in your rights?
I mean, even like I was saying with the recording thing, I mean, I was saying like that would be more understandable. I'm still like against that for the most part. I can understand it, like if Walmart wants to put their cameras up or whatever. But on the side of the road, that's too much for me. I feel like if you're in a public area and you're just like, there shouldn't be surveillance everywhere. I think the solution for this is, for one, to stop any sort of government and private just interactions through business. Like, you shouldn't be able to circumvent those restrictions the government has.
Mm-hmm.
And another one would be just, I had it just on the tip of my tongue. Wow. But until I remember that, just stopping that whole thing between governments and private companies.
Yeah. It seems like every time the government gets involved with a private organization, whether it's a nonprofit, non-government organization, or whether it's a for-profit company, somehow nothing good comes of that, right? We saw all the fraud that's taking place with Doge, and then even now still with Nick Shirley exposing all the fraud in Minnesota, right? And then now they're seeing it in Ohio, and then in Washington, and then we'll actually be dropping a video here on our channel soon about St. Louis and some potential fraud that we found here in the community.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I know we talked about that, and we gave you a little bit of a sneak peek talking about it. So that's something that we're super excited about too. But another thing that I wanted to bring up that most people probably don't know is, we're talking about recording on the side of the highway and, these kind of more public areas, right, where we're getting recorded. But I don't know if you know this, Shred. I thought we had talked about this, but maybe this is new information to you, or maybe it was new information earlier, is that, the Ring cameras on our front doorbells, Ring and Flock now work together. And so I know Nick has a video here that talks a little bit about this. So let's go ahead and check this out.
Two of the largest private surveillance networks in America just teamed up. Amazon's Ring and Flock Safety have officially partnered. Here's what that means. The AI-powered cameras that track your car on the street can now ask your neighbor's Ring doorbell for video of you. They're connecting the street to your front door, creating one massive, searchable surveillance network for the police. And this isn't theory. 404 Media has already reported that ICE and the Secret Service have access to Flock's network. Now that network is about to get millions of new cameras from Ring. Remember, Ring was already fined $5.8 million by the FTC because its employees were caught spying on customers' private videos. You bought that doorbell to keep strangers out. Now it's letting federal agents in. Two of the largest private surveillance networks.
Yeah. Pretty outrageous. And so I wanted to have that clip just to break it down in its full capacity there so that we could see it. But yeah, what's your quick reaction to
That's horrifying, in my opinion. That's because I already know that law enforcement kind of had a deal with Ring cameras themselves to where they could get in there and search things if they wanted to without permission from the owner. I know sometimes they would go to the owners and ask permission because they didn't want to go through all the troubles of getting to that database. But that's terrifying because so many people will have a Ring camera. So not only is it going from the side of the road, but now it's on your neighbor's front door that's always staring maybe in your open front window of your house, or so many different things like that. And what about when they, like, I know it's kind of came out now that like they can see you in your house through Wi-Fi signals and stuff like that. Yep. So what about when they integrate with that, and then they have everybody just in their houses, and then they have your whole neighborhood, and every single thing is surveilled. You can't go anywhere without somebody seeing you.
President Trump saw, and it was a quick clip, so I can get fact checked on this and someone can find out if I'm wrong, but I saw a quick clip of him talking about 6G and 7G or something. And he said something creepy. He's like, "Oh, you're going to be able to like see in your skin."
Yeah,
like,
I posted that. I think I posted
that. Yeah,
dude.
Yeah. I was like, "What?"
Yeah,
so
he's like,
"Oh, Wi-Fi signals."
Yeah, he's like, I helped implement 5G, and that helped you see deeper into the skin and all. And it's like, what? It's crazy. He's like, so they're on to 6G now. What's that do? And they all started laughing.
Yeah, so like that's the Wi-Fi signals, the 6G signals, right? 5G signals. There's been tons of conspiracies, obviously, around all the 5G stuff.
Just to chime in, I actually was talking earlier this week in a chat one time for the Mountain Sharks. If you know, you know. Low frequency electromagnetic fields can degrade collagen, weaken tendons, and cause soft tissue damage at levels regulators call safe. Basically, there's this college campus that has their they have a bunch of like injuries all the time, and right next to their field is like a big electrical substation right next to it.
Wow.
You know?
That's not related at all, Nick. that can't cause that, right? No,
not at all. There's no way. At all. Actually, I take that back. It's the 49ers.
It's the 49ers?
It's the 49ers. The San Francisco 49ers are statistically the most injured team in the NFL over the last decade since moving to the stadium. That's crazy.
That is crazy, actually.
Yeah. I went to the practice fields with a gasometer at 11 a.m. on a Monday, peak below the load. Yeah, it's something to look into. But yeah, check it out.
Definitely. Well, and that's I mean, I know we're not really in this topic, but just to say real quick, and I feel like that's why people are so crazy now. Like everybody seems on edge. Everybody seems so uptight about things. It's because we have these high frequency noises that we can't hear from 5G and all these Wi-Fi and cellular signals. It gets into people's head. They might not be able to hear it, but it still messes with your brainwave patterns. It just puts things on a higher wave, so you're always worried and on edge,
stressed and anxious. And speaking of anxious, something that this is a good segue, something I looked into, because I remember I took some psychology classes in college, and I remember all these studies that I got to read about, and all these different types of just like psychological studies done by a lot of liberals, but they're interesting studies. And I can't remember, but I just remember off the top of my head. I can't remember the name of the study or anything, but there's a study out there, and I'll have to find it sometime, that basically talks about how being constantly surveilled doesn't help anyone. And I think it had to do with being surveilled at work constantly, like a 24/7 watching you, right? And how it actually hurts people and doesn't help them. And so that's one of my concerns too, as a society, is that if we just continue on this path, as we were talking about earlier, to this constant surveillance state, that none of us want. No generation wants that, it seems. My generation, I'll speak for my generation as a millennial. I don't want it. Gen Z doesn't want it, right? And so, I just lost my train of thought, but that's my,
nobody wants this. I don't even think, older people don't want this. Nobody wants to be watched 24/7. It's like,
I think people just aren't aware that it's happening, right?
Yeah, or if they are aware, they're like, oh, it's just recording us, or it's just, they're not aware of every aspect of it. That's really the problem. Like, nobody mind, like if you go into a private business and they record, nobody really minds that. But when it comes to just your everyday life and what they have the ability to do and track, that's when it becomes the issue. But mainstream media doesn't talk about it. And if you're just a normie who likes to watch the news, see something on Instagram here and there, X, you're never going to fall into these so-called rabbit holes.
Yeah.
And you're never going to figure out how deep it really goes.
Yeah. No, you're not going to get, you're not red pilled if you're just, just watching the normie stuff. Even if you are watching the normie stuff, which I've watched it and watch it still sometimes, right?
Yeah.
But you have to expand your horizons, right? You have to go outside your comfort zone a little bit, and listen to other people. I even like to, I don't listen to them for a long time, but I'll listen to longer clips of like Dean Withers or the Parker, all these liberals, but we have to know what are they saying, right? What are they trying to push on people? You got to know your enemy, right? As they say. And so, but you have to broaden your horizons so you can have a holistic view and really approach any issue from, hey, I am not just a Trump loyalist. And so I'm going to say, this is what Trump told me to say, so this is what I believe, right? No, I think we've talked a lot about on this show. You haven't heard it, Shred, but the reason it's called Straight Talk is because it's like, hey, just keep it real, right? Just keep it real, keep it raw, get your own opinion, learn, teach yourself, and then it's okay just to have your own opinion. You don't have to agree with everything that everyone says, right? And I even talked about in the Nick Fuentes show, it's like, hey, do I agree with everything that he says? No, right? I would say that he probably doesn't agree with everything that you have a clip of him saying, right? It's just that he's a comedian, and so sometimes he'll say stuff just to get a reaction out of people. Or I even heard him say in an interview, like, yeah, I said that stuff because I know that there's people from the Daily Wire watching my show that are hired just to clip it to make me look bad. And so, what do you think I'm going to do? Right. As I'm going to play into that. And so, you don't have to agree with everything that everyone says, but you have to come up with your own opinion and your own, viewpoint. And that's I think that's why Gen Z likes Nick too, is because he is raw and authentic. And I think from my understanding of just like from a business, I'm in the marketing world. And so like whenever I was when we're talking about marketing to Gen Z, it's like, oh, it has to be authentic. It has to be organic and raw. It can't be produced or, fixed in this certain way, kind of like millennials would like, right? And so, yeah, that's one of the reasons I think that people are just really going to him and not so many of the normie people anymore.
Oh yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Something that I wrote down that I meant to mention earlier is that I think maybe you mentioned this to me, or maybe we were just talking about it in conversation. Not only does the flock safety cameras get your face, not only is it getting your license plates, all this information and tracking you, but then through the aggregation with Palantir, now they can get like your online shopping habits, your spending habits, access to your bank accounts, how much money you have, how much debt you have, all. And a police officer can have that all at the click of the button on a traffic stop.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, I just think about the police state like you're talking about the communist police state. Is like, okay, clicks on the button, sees, okay, I've got Jim here who's a stressed husband of a he's working. He's only one in his family. He's got a job. His wife stays at home. They got 3 kids. They're $150,000 in debt. And he works 2 jobs just to make it, the cop gets all this information at the click of a button. And then he says, okay, now he can use that against this guy and to strong arm him into stuff, right? And to, oh, you don't want another ticket because you can't afford it, right? So what more stuff can they do now that they have that information to their own advantage, not to you, not to we the people, right? That's another problem I have, is that like having all this data, that's not protecting me.
No, not at all. So your question's like, what more are they going to be able to kind of like not ruin, but take advantage of people with?
Yeah, it wasn't even a question. It was really just going back to like stating that. But yeah, from that now, yeah, I think that's the natural question we ask, is like, what more now, right?
And what if you have a conservative cop who hates liberals, or what if you have a liberal cop who hates conservative, and they're able to see who they voted for and what they're looking at on or just a summary, of that sort of stuff, and they're like, oh, I'm going to give this I was going to give them a warning, but now I'm going to give them a ticket, and I'm going to give them a hard time, hoping I can get to take them to jail. And it can cause so many more issues just from simple things like that you won't even really think of from a practical sense, or just like a normal sense of things like that. So it can cause a lot more issues that we don't even really know right now.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons we're talking about it tonight, is because we want to raise this awareness, right? As we, me and you weren't even aware of how deep it went when we started. I think we were at like the tip of the iceberg already, and that was enough for me and you, right? And then we're starting to dive into these deeper videos, and we're like, wait, and they shared it in one of the clips, and everyone can go watch. I've just searched flock safety on YouTube, and I'll pull up here, see what the guy's name is here in a second. But he's got a video there where he's got his one main video that we talked about, Shred, where he breaks down flock cameras, but he has a follow-up video where he literally hacks into flock safety cameras that are running. He gets into them, and he gets the footage.
I don't even think he hacked. He didn't need a password or anything. Like, it was just one password and one account name for anybody could access it.
Yep. Yeah, there was no changed password.
Yeah,
there's no changed password. Oh, you're good. Yeah, there was no changed password or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
You're good. Go ahead and fix that. Let me know when you're ready.
Sorry about that.
Dude, no big deal. Happens to me all the time. Yeah, that was one of the big problems I saw with this video. And something that I thought was really funny is that in the YouTube video itself, he goes to where one of the cameras is in his town that he can log into, and then he gets that footage. So he gets all of this footage of him in the view of the flock safety camera, and then he uses it for the YouTube video. And so I just thought that was pretty wild that, one, he could get into the camera, but on top of getting into the camera, he was able to capture the footage on his device, and then he just edited it into his YouTube video just like it was another camera that was a part of his setup. So super super wild stuff, in my opinion. But
I'm sorry, I'm getting this hooked up. It's
no big deal. We can still hear you. So,
Zay, question on this next clip. The 67 people tracking flock cameras across the U.S. live streaming on there. This one on this clip says one belongs to Douglas County, and it's an open space trailhead. Douglas County is where I lived at in Colorado.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Let's take a look at that. Let's go ahead and throw to this clip.
Couldn't believe what I was seeing.
If there was a camera pointed at your children on the playground, live streaming it on the internet with the capability to...
I just couldn't believe what I was seeing.
If there was a camera pointed at your children on the playground, live streaming it on the internet...
Oh.
I don't think we got it up there.
Yeah, it's up.
Is it?
Yeah, you're good.
Internet with the capability to rewind and look at what it captured, would you be happy?
When I found that playground camera, it's like my stomach sank.
That playground is in California, and the video was obtained and published by YouTuber and researcher Ben Jordan. He just partnered with a reporter at 404 Media to break a story. Links to streams of 67 flock cameras nationwide, 5 labeled as in Colorado, and their last month's worth of footage posted on a website on the internet that requires no login. And these aren't just license plate reading cameras.
They're Condor cams. They're kind of the newer cameras that Flock is making. Part of their design is to track people, to zoom in on them and follow them.
One other camera on that list
wow.
appears to be this one at a trailhead here in Douglas County,
the
Sandstone Ranch. Get that camera off of me. Wow. Here's video from this camera accessible on the internet without a login just this past week. Sandstone Ranch open space is managed by Douglas County, who has a contract with Flock.
Every city and law enforcement agency needs to independently assess the security and the efficacy versus risk of these devices.
Flock says it has since cut off the access to the stream links posted online, and in a tweet about it this morning wrote that, quote, transparency and trust matter. They then went on to say it was a limited configuration issue affecting a small number of devices and that the company told affected customers.
If you're depending on a for-profit tech startup to do that for you, they're just going to tell you what you want to hear. That's common sense. They're not going to tell you about all of the risks and problems.
So a key question here, what did Douglas County know and when? Flock says that they alerted people about this that were affected by it. I reached out, Jenny, to Douglas County earlier this afternoon, just heard back a couple of seconds ago. They confirmed, yes, we were affected by this stream being posted on this page, and they're still working to figure out when and how it was accessed.
Wow. Yeah, so they're just like, oh, we don't know what's going on. Yeah, we got to figure this out, right? And I'll share my screen real quick because I did want to show everyone this guy's YouTube stuff. It's on the screen. Let me go ahead and boom, there we go. So this is Ben Jordan. This is who we were talking about, guys. His YouTube channel. So this is an original video that Shred and I had watched and had been discussing, him and I had been discussing about. And this is that follow-up video. And so this is the no password required. So this is where those clips we just watched are from. I just encourage everyone watching right now to go watch both videos so that you can have your eyes open just like us. Pretty shocking stuff and eye-opening stuff. You can see right there in the thumbnail that I don't want to scroll over it, but you see the picture of Ben waving to the camera. That's actual footage of him at one of the Flock cameras there that he was able to get because he was able to just to get into the cameras. So definitely go check that out. He has a lot more breakdown. He opens the cameras, does more than we'll do here today, but just wanted to give him a shout out because that's where we got a lot of our information. I know from Shred and I got a lot of our information from him. But something else I wanted to just show you, Shred, and kind of walk through the implications now, right? So we know these things are dangerous. We know we don't want them here in our country. We don't want them in our community, right? What are the implications for this now locally? Because as you mentioned earlier, we had the Patriot Act. And so the federal government already has access like this Right now, they're watching. I'm sure they're watching us. Hello, FBI agents that are assigned to Shred and I, right? They're watching right now. Even if they're not watching the stream, they're watching through this camera on my phone or my iPad or whatever, right? And so through the Patriot Act, the federal government has that access. But I think what this really does, and we'll see here from this map, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, is that it gives more access to the local government now, right? Let's pull this up. Can you see this map here of all these cameras?
Yep.
Yeah, so this is St. Louis, where I'm from, and you can see how many cameras are here, right? So if you think about, the federal government already has access to all of our phones, so they can see everywhere, anytime. Now, this is the layer that we're adding on top of it that Shred and I are talking about, is that now that they have the flock cameras and that the police officers can, get in here, this is all local law enforcement that has access to all these, right? That's following you, tracking you wherever you go. And so now you have federal law enforcement who has access to you 24/7. And now we've got this state and local law enforcement through flock cameras that have access. And so, Shred, what do you think about that? Do you feel, again, the main question that we always want to come back to, do you feel like that's making you more safe?
No, not at all. I mean, do you know when these flock cameras were first implemented?
I think 2017.
Okay, because I haven't really talked about this too much, but I think it was 2020 or 2021. Two people broke into my house and like held me at gunpoint and everything. And
wow,
they tracked them down because they had stolen a car to get away. And now that I'm thinking about it, I think they may have used these flock cameras to catch them because they were almost down into Mexico by the time they had caught them.
What?
And they had nothing tracked to them other than that one stolen car. And it almost makes me wonder if they were able to find them because they found them fast, like really fast. But I knew who they were because they came in with no mask or anything.
Yeah.
But still, it's really weird that they were able to find them that quick. So in that one, there are certain aspects where it's like, yeah, it could make me feel safer for reasons like that.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing. And I'd rather be okay. I would be okay with those people getting away, going to Mexico, getting away forever, than having my every move tracked, Like,
yep.
Having them caught's not going to change anything that already happened. So it's not like they're preventing crimes or anything. They probably want to. They probably have something in store that they're going to be releasing soon for predictive crime watch and things like that. But
it's already in effect. That's part of what Flock is doing already. I wasn't able to find the clip to show everyone, but there is a interview out there with a man who was driving, I think in Texas. Could be wrong, but I think he was driving in Texas. And he went from like one town to another town. And if you know anything about Texas, that could be, 5 hours, right? And so it's basically a whole day of driving. And he took, I guess, a different route or something like that raised alarm from the flock cameras. No crime committed, right? No crime. He didn't do anything wrong. He didn't break the law. Yet they still pulled him over because he was suspicious. And so they said, hey, we need to see what's going on because we're just suspicious of you. And that's, I think you're hitting the nail on the head there. It's like, hey, I'm not okay with giving over those rights.
Yeah, and suspicion isn't a crime either. Just because you're doing something suspicious, it might give them, no, I mean, even if you're doing something suspicious, that's not probable cause. Probable cause is actually seeing them doing something or having an actual reason to do it, not just because somebody looks suspicious. So that's a big issue because what if you're just going to visit family that's far away that you haven't seen in a few years or something, like that's none of their business. Yep. Nobody else needs to know about that other than you and the other party.
Yeah. Just because I'm taking a different route to work or a different route or I'm driving out of town today to go see my grandma, like you're saying, Doesn't
Well, a
mean
lot of the time, like on my way to work, I'll take a different way just to switch things up because I don't
Yeah.
like getting in the same rut of doing the same thing every day. So
100%.
am I going to get pulled over because I take a different road on my way to work?
Yeah, you are 5 stars on GTA all of a sudden, right?
Exactly. Just because you took lower road instead of the upper road, you know?
Yeah, it's like, oh, 5 stars. Get the helicopters. Get them now, right?
Seriously.
Oh my gosh, that's outrageous. And that's why I wanted to throw up the map, because just to, I put it into perspective. I think for Nick, him and I were talking the other day, and he's like, well, the Patriot Act, I might have even been talking with you, Shred, about the Patriot Act. And I was like, well, guys, the thing is that, yes, the federal government has it, but like I just said earlier, now the state and local law enforcement, so every type of law enforcement officer, agent has access to some way they can basically track you across the country, right? And so, like you're saying, your local police officers were able to figure this all out because of potentially the flock cameras, and they were able to go in and find and track them down very quickly. And that's great. I'm glad for you, but as you just admitted yourself, I don't know what's the cost really to actually being able to get that, right?
Exactly. Like it's still already happened. It's not going to change anything just because they can track them down. I wonder if I'd be able to almost like FOIA that. And well, I know it's not through the federal government, but
you can FOIA. You can FOIA right locally too. Yeah, absolutely.
That would be interesting to see how they found them if they did use the flock system.
Yeah, you should. I'm sure, because I'm sure you probably have the detective or someone that was assigned to the case, and so you can definitely, if you go up to whatever county or city that it was in, the clerk will probably be able to help you. They'll probably be able to walk you through the process, even of whatever. It's different per city. Sometimes they like require you to write it out. Sometimes you can just like bring your own attached document and give it to them. Sometimes, it just depends on the city or county and what they want from you. But dude, you should
figure it out. That would be really interesting.
Yeah, that would be really, really interesting to find out.
And
I just wanted to show this, I think this is pretty good at showing there's 20, 29, 34, 61, 15, right? And just for you, Shred, to know is like, this is downtown St. Louis, but like most people live like here, I would say. And then like here, kind of this area. And so you can see 68. This is a very high, like very popular area for people to live.
That's mine.
This is where Nick lives. So he lives with the most flock cameras in our city. That's where he lives.
Oh, that's tough.
They're tracking him when he goes.
I have 4 or 5 flock cameras on my way to work. Actually, looking at this map, it looks like I drive by more now. So
yeah, that's outrageous.
That is.
Yeah, and I know we're getting late, everyone, and I know we're. Oh, my bad. I know we're getting late, and I know we're gone for a little bit longer, but I just wanted to make sure that we did flock justice by talking about all these different things, all these different implications, and do we want this? Do we not want this? Is it helping us? Is it not helping us? Right? In some instances, even with Shred's own, in his personal life, it helped him to an extent, but even someone like himself who it helped, who has common sense, right? You have common sense at least, Shred, and you're like, wait. I'm cool with it, but I'm thankful, but I don't know, because you're actually thinking about what are the implications of the future, and like, what are you going to give up, and how is this going to turn into a surveillance state, really? And now it's not just tracking down people that have committed crimes, but like you said, this predictive thing, or even what I'm concerned more about is not the predictive, but tracking crimes that people don't really care about, like jaywalking or littering or something like that, and that actually affecting your life. I'll admit it, I've probably littered on accident, right? And I'm not getting fined for it. No one's coming and giving me a ticket or hunting me down, right? But with flock cameras, that can be a reality, because that's what happens in, the CCP. That's what happens in communist China, is they're jaywalking.
what if one of those flock cameras, they see you maybe toss like your McDonald's burger out of the window and they think you're littering, but you don't get a charge for like, you
No.
don't get littering for food and stuff,
Nope.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. So what if it
burger.
sees that as you're littering, but really you're just throwing food out of your window or something, you know?
Exactly.
You don't have an officer there to see it and talk about it. And by the time that you would get that case or your ticket, that food would be eaten. So you couldn't prove it, you know?
Yeah. And then even more conspiracies, right? We could even open it up even further. Is like, since it's so easy to log into one and get access to one, who can manipulate the footage with AI and make it look like something happened that didn't happen, right? It's like,
oh yeah,
that's not to open up another can of worms, but like that's another implication of all of this, is that because it's a private company, and so there's so many, so much openness, and they're just so motivated by profit that they don't really care. I think if I remember right, flock cameras run on Windows Vista or like some old, I don't even think they're in the system that's within flock cameras is like an outdated Android OS or something like that. And so it's like that, even too, on top of all this, it's like, man, there's just problems, red flags all around. Red flags with the company, red flags with the technology, red flags with the use of the technology. And so, I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong, Shred, but I think that from this episode, we can say we're not fans of flock safety. We want to see it, though. I personally want to see it banned in my state. There's cities that do bans and things like that. And so I tweet at the governor of our state all the time and tell him.
I saw that.
Yeah. So like, that's my new mission, is to raise more awareness around flock cameras and how we need to get rid of them. But
oh yeah, any sort of ban, whether it starts at the states or whether we get lucky enough to where something federal comes of it, that would be the dream. But
seriously,
even if we could just get it state by state slowly, that would, it might take a little longer, but be working our way there.
One step at a time, right?
Exactly.
Well, that's flock safety. Like we said, there's tons more that Shred and I could get into. There's tons more that we could talk about flock safety, flock cameras, more implications and more conspiracy theories that we have. There's stuff we even talked about that we didn't on our pre-show and everything that we didn't even get into, that him and I were discussing even yesterday. But I think that's a good overview of flock and gives the people kind of what they were looking for, to the understanding behind flock and the implications of it all. And so want to be able to, one of the favorite parts of the show for everyone is the left-wing lunatics. And sometimes we have to cut it out because we go so long on certain topics, but I don't want to cut it out this week. I want to at least watch 2 clips since you're here, Shred, and get you to react to these clips. And so, Nick, you got some clips ready for us for the left-wing lunatics we can check out?
Yeah. Let me run one up here.
Okay, let's check this out.
Yeah, sorry about my camera
favorite
too.
segment. Before we hit it, we gotta roll the intro. So let's check this out.
They're shouting loud but making no sound, chasing their tails round and round. Oh, the chaos never quit.
Oh, left-wing lunatics. I made that song with AI, Shred.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, the left-wing lunatics. It started in the middle of the song for some reason. That was so random, but yeah, left-wing lunatics. Let's take a look at this clip. Shred and I watched this clip earlier together, and we were jaws on the floor.
So, I mean, I'm just walking around kind of just dazed-eyed because I got up. I was like, I don't know if it's the right thing to do. It feels kind of wrong being here in some way. I don't know why.
Why do you think? Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Like, where that stems from. Like, I mean, part of it is being like a white woman, that I'm privileged and I have a lot of privilege. So I feel like white tears are not always something that's helpful or necessary when Black and brown people have been experiencing this for a long time. This isn't new for them. And so I don't know if that makes any sense in that way.
How did you decide that you should be here? Or are you still figuring that out?
Well, I work like 2 miles from here. So driving by just, I don't, it was like, I'm here. I'm 2 miles. I can stop. So, I mean, I'm just walking around.
White tears aren't helpful. What do you think about that, Shred?
I mean, you want to laugh at it, but it really is kind of sad. Like, it's depressing that there's people that have been this brainwashed and manipulated to think that just because they're white or they're not black or brown, that they're not allowed to have emotions. Like, I think her emotions are completely stupid. They're pointless.
Yeah.
But still, even if she does have those feelings, the fact that she feels unjustified in expressing those just because she's a white woman talking about brown and black or immigrants or whatever, it's sad that somebody can actually go that far of being manipulated and taught to hate themselves because of who they are. And I thought we got away from all of that,
Yeah.
I thought it's just racism, but towards white people and self-hate, which is horrible.
Yep.
It's sad.
Reverse racism, right? It's like what we hear a lot of times is that because people will say, well, if you're white, you can't be racist. And it's like, what? All right, we'll come up with a new word then, reverse racism. Okay. That's what we'll call it then. But yeah, white tears aren't helpful is what she said. And she said also because black and brown people have been experiencing it for so long. And my question to her is like, what do black and brown people have to do with Renee Good? A white lesbian woman who was killed.
Exactly.
I don't know. Like, she's sitting there crying, doesn't know if she should be there at the murder scene of a white lesbian woman. And then she's talking about white tears aren't helpful and black and brown people have experienced this forever. And hey, I understand there's been persecution. Absolutely. All of us know slavery is bad. We get it, right? Okay. We understand that was bad, but that has nothing to do with what we're talking about today. I could be wrong, but I think that a black person can do the same thing as a white person in America. Am I wrong there, Shred? Or
no? As far as I know, we have the 19th Amendment, or is it the 13th or the 19th Amendment?
Yeah, one of those, right? It's like we have it, and I have plenty of black friends that are doing better than me, even, right? It's like there's this idea that systemic racism. I disavow that. I dismiss that, right? I don't think.
Yeah, I have a black friend. I was telling you about him. He's a liberal, and his family, they're loaded. His grandpa is like one of the top surgeons or doctors in the whole country.
Yeah.
But he'll still sit there and tell me how he's like oppressed and all this stuff. And I'm like,
oh
dude,
my gosh.
We got into a debate on Halloween so bad. Like, it was almost a screaming match. My brother was getting all heated. It was pretty crazy, but I love the guy. Although we have huge differences, he's a very caring person. He'd do anything for anyone.
Yeah. Just because someone has different, and that's one thing that I hoped to do with this show, as much as we poke fun at the left wings, right? I didn't even say it this show, but I always say, I usually like, where's my left wing lunatics and where's my right wing retards, right? It's like, we're not discriminating here, is that, just because you're right wing doesn't mean you're right about everything, doesn't mean that you always know what's best, or, your political standing doesn't give you some elite knowledge, right? It's like, there's still absolute truths that you still have to deal with. And that's where I was talking about earlier about like the left's, is kind of lost with modernity and post-modernity, and they don't even have a moral compass or anything. But yeah, white tears aren't helpful. That was a crazy video. What do you got for us next, Nick? What's this? Just before you play it, what's the scene here that we're getting into, if you know, Nick, or are you not aware? Oh, he's muted.
Yeah, one more time.
Yeah, what's this clip that we're about to watch now?
Oh, my bad. Sorry. This is the clip that you sent me today, actually. I haven't watched it.
Oh, okay.
I have no idea what this is.
Let's see what this is.
me! Pepper spray me! Hurt me! Shame on you! On your grandmother's ass! Shoot me!
Oh my gosh! Yeah,
I'm your grandmother at the end.
Yeah, she said, "I'm your grandmother."
Yeah, that seems like a mental illness. She's literally screaming into the void. Nobody's listening to her. Nobody's going to shoot her because she's not trying to ram them with a car. They can't. It's almost like these people can't put two and two together. They see two here and they see two here, but they don't know what it equals out to. They just take
Equals 5,
all these
right?
points and make a crazy argument with it.
Yeah.
It's sad. Like I really do have almost an empathy for how these people just think.
100%.
Oh, it's funny, but it's just like, how do you get to that point?
So my wife actually, she hates the Left Wing Lunatics song that I made. She hates that opener. She tells me I shouldn't play it all the time, and the reason is because she's serious. And she say this, you're gonna laugh because you're gonna think it's a joke, but she's completely serious. She's like, no, they really have like TDS, Isaiah. Like they really don't understand. Like all they know is that Trump bad, Orange Man bad, and they can't. And it is like a mental illness, and like they can't get over that emotionally and mentally. And so then you end up with this, right? You end up with this lady who's saying, she's basically asking them to do assisted suicide, right? She's saying, shoot me, shoot me, shoot me. That's not what Michael Brown said, right? That's at least what they say. Not Michael Brown said, right? Hands up, don't shoot, right? And this lady's out there, shoot me, kill me, pepper spray me. I'm your grandma.
Mm-hmm. It's like, no, my grandma would not do that. She's not crazy.
My grandma's not crazy like you, lady. She's not out there. I didn't even see her sign. I couldn't even read what it said, right?
No.
Shoot me. Blah.
It's sad.
Super, super sad. What'd you think of that, Nick? I know you hadn't watched that yet.
I don't even know what to say about that fucking lady.
So
I mean, seriously, like you said, no one's even paying attention to her other than the dude. I feel like she knows she's on camera, so she's just acting a fool.
Yeah, I feel like that black dude that was right beside her was like, this woman is crazy. Like,
yeah, even he's like, yeah, she's crazy. Get the hell away from me.
I wish we could have like, you know how like they have reaction cams and stuff, right? It's like if only we could have reaction cams on like the ICE agents to see what their face looked like when she's out there. I mean, they're probably just like, I would be like, what is wrong with this?
Someone was probably like, yo, should we go hit her with some pepper spray?
Seriously.
Should we give her what she wants? She's asking for it, right?
She asked for it.
She asked for it, right?
That's
so
crazy.
Funny.
Well, these people, like, I don't even know what to do about people like that either. There's like, I know Hillary said, round up all the deplorables, put them in re-education camps and stuff. But I don't even want to advocate for that for the other side because that's so messed up in my opinion. But it's like, really though, what do you do with people like that who are so far gone?
Yeah, and I think that's where just continuing education, that's why I love what you do, right? Is like with the social media, I think that's the most powerful tool we have is social media. And one of the reasons I started my show is because there just needs to be more voices that are speaking, so that I think a part of the problem with the left is that they think it's so small. They think that the movement's so small, right? They think, oh no, it's just this small faction in this corner over here of these extremists, right? When in fact, no, this is a broad accepted view a lot of times across a lot of conservatives. And so I think just continuing to do exactly what you're doing with the clips, and just like sometimes there's going to be a time a liberal sees a clip and it's going to interest them and they're going to get hooked by it to check something else out, or it's going to trigger them to where they feel like they need to prove you wrong, and then they're going to research something to figure out that you're right. You know what I'm saying? And so, I've done that with liberal things before too. It's like, man, okay, they were right. Now I have to like, how do I deal with this? How do I, because I didn't want them to be right, but they are right. So now I have to like confront this in a way where, what do I actually think about it now? Okay. And so then they have to do the same thing.
That's how, like I was telling you on FaceTime yesterday, I was huge into Trump and everything. I thought Nick Fuentes was a horrible person and everything. But from the clips and from researching after I started looking into him, I was like, I actually like this guy more than I like Trump. And you can, if you, there's like a switch in your head to where if you just see the right thing at the right time, it'll flip that and you'll open your mind up to some new ideas and things like that. And the thing with liberals, like you were saying, they think this movement's really small and they think their movement is everybody. Everybody thinks like them. But then they'll be on Twitter or X or whatever, and they'll leave that and they'll go to a platform like Blue Sky or Threads or something like that, to where it's just one big echo chamber. And then that's why they think that. But when they go to X, they're like, oh, it's just full of neo-Nazis. I can't find anybody like me on here. My community's so small. It's like, yeah, because you guys aren't, when you go to an open platform with open discourse and no restrictions. Yeah, you're not the majority, because people are allowed to express themselves freely and not be stuck in this box that you've created.
Yes. 100% true. And I could go off on so many things. We could.
I know.
We could
We'll
go
have
on
to do this
forever.
again sometime here
No,
soon.
we'll definitely have to do another one for sure. Maybe a follow-up after you FOIA the information about the flock cameras, right?
I'm definitely going to look into that.
That'd be super interesting. But any more left-wing lunatic clips you got for us, Nick?
I think that's it. This other one was just a flock one earlier. But
Let's watch this one. This is a good one just for any left-wing lunatics watching.
But here we are standing in front of City Hall. Why are you here today?
Because I want to help the other people who are speaking out against flock.
What is your demand?
Our demand is that they cancel the contract and take down the cameras.
It's really hard to make something fully secure. Oh, I can believe that these leaks of flock data were accidents, but it shouldn't be that easy to make that mistake. Now that Trump is in office, I mean, that is one of my concerns.
It's really easy to imagine this being abused, having seen Trump send the National Guard to various cities. In the case of these cameras, they could be turned on in order to serve his agenda, and how would we even know that? It would be completely invisible to us, right?
Yeah,
So it wouldn't.
They're on all the time. It's not a very transparent system.
Came into my awareness just in April. I was just like, wow, this is super puzzling that we have this in our 3 cities. You know, how long has this been going on? And it had only been a couple of years. And it happened in that post-pandemic time, I think, when a lot of us were recreating community, getting back to working in person, just swept under the rug while working people are back at work. You know, these meetings are during the day. Any system where elected officials and law enforcement have access to where the residents come and go is eventually going to be found by the Supreme Court to be violating the 4th Amendment.
I agree completely, just to be clear.
Yeah, so these are all liberals, just so we're all clear here, who are protesting because of how it tracks illegal immigrants, right? And I'll be the first to say,
that's crazy.
I'll be the first to say, hey, they should use it to track illegal immigrants.
I know. See, that's where I get myself stuck in these pickles of like, well, it could be used for this, but then I'd rather not be used for illegals because there's other ways we can go about doing that. Exactly. But at the same time, you almost want it to be.
Yeah, it's like, and I even had this thought, I think, the other night is like, okay, hey, maybe flock's good, but maybe we just put it on the border, right? Or the border and like 50 miles from the border or something like that, right? And like we can limit it to that kind of thing. But across the entire country that's where we always, like we said, that's where we get lost. But the reason I really want to show that clip is just to show the bipartisan nature of this too, is that just like we conservative right-wingers, right? And some would call us right-wing extremists, right? Like TikTok. And so we agree with these liberals. Right now, why they're coming to this conclusion, maybe we came to it from different places, but they're saying the exact same thing we're saying, is that when it comes down to it, this is violating the 4th Amendment, right? Because it's tracking people. And, you know, the guy said, oh, yeah, the Trump administration, right? He's obviously trying to weaponize. He's trying to, you know, use this as an opportunity to attack the Trump administration, right? But it's not just the Trump administration who would use, any administration would use it in any capacity to track all of their citizens. And
I mean, criminals or cartels, even like they could use this against their enemies or the government.
Yeah, I had foreign affairs written down as one of my another like again, don't want
Yeah,
to
that
keep
gives every other country even access to exactly what's going on everywhere in our country.
Yeah, it's like you don't think that we are inside of China's cameras doing that, right? And so, and if this guy didn't need that, he didn't even have to hack the cameras. China is 100% watching these feeds and just getting all this data, right? So, well, lots we covered here tonight. We went over tons. We went over Nicolas Maduro. We went over the ICE agent shooting. And then obviously for like the last almost hour, we've been talking about flock cameras and all the implications that come with that. Lots of anxiety, lots of worry, stress that comes with that. And so I always like to end every show with at least some encouragement, a Bible verse or something that can encourage everyone, because I know that, I don't want it just to be like the regular news where it's, depressing and trying to make you fear and be concerned about everything. I think that there's hope that we can have too. I think you even said, like, I'm white pilled about this, right? It's like, yeah, there's things that you can have hope in. And, for the America First movement, that's Christ. Christ is King. That's the only thing that we can have hope in. That's the God over government. And my personal life, I think, is that, Christ is the only thing that can fix all things. And so there's a verse in Proverbs here that I wanted to just read really quick that I think is good just based off this conversation. And it's Proverbs 27:17. It says, iron sharpens iron, and one man sharpens another. And so that whole Bible verse has to do with iron sharpening iron. When you're sharpening iron, you're using it to sharpen itself. And so just like iron can sharpen itself, one man can sharpen another through conversation, through encouragement, through discourse, debate, discussions, right? Through encouraging words or prayers, all these types of things. And so that's, what I was hoping to do here tonight is, just iron sharpening iron with Shred here is, from my viewpoint, right? I even talked about at the beginning, is like, I'm a millennial. I have a little bit different viewpoint than Shred does, being a Gen Zer. I had different experiences than he had experiences, right? COVID is probably more prevalent in his life than it is in mine, because it was something that just happened for him. It's a big part of his life. And so just want to encourage everyone watching, want to encourage you, Shred, with that, we can all go out and we can encourage each other. And that's why you can have that liberal friend that can encourage you and still speak life into you, right? It's like, it doesn't matter the political views. God, you go to church, you're going to have Democrats and Republicans at church. And so that's why we always have to remind ourselves and have the true North Star, which is Christ, to bring ourselves back in his word and say, Christ is King. He's going to reveal to us how we should go about things, as long as we're staying in his word, staying close to him, staying in prayer, all these different things. And so just want to encourage you, the viewer, everyone watching in the chat, encourage you, Shred, all Shred's viewers, and anyone watching, with that verse, Proverbs. If you haven't read the Bible, I encourage you to pick it up. Start in Proverbs. A great way to do is, today's January 9th, for example, so read Proverbs 9. There's 31 Proverbs, and so you can read a proverb a day, and you could just match it with the day, and any proverb is so full of wisdom and knowledge, and so I'd encourage you to do that. The Bible is so encouraging and gives you such hope in life, in such a dark, tumultuous time that we're living in, right? Is that people are always saying Jesus is coming back. He's coming back soon. He's coming back soon. And while I think a lot of times they're wrong because they're trying to tell us Jesus come back on September 23rd, I do think that every year we just see more and more the world getting more out of control, and we just got to continue to bring ourselves back to Christ. Any last words from you two, Shred, about that? Any encouragement for the people?
Oh, I completely agree with all of that. Christ is King. If you're going through any problems in life, just look towards him. Try and find just read the Bible, because like we kind of talked about this yesterday, it's relative to you and your situation and what's going on in your life. I could read a verse and you could read a verse, and we could interpret that two completely different ways because we have two different problems going on. And that's kind of what the Bible is for, is just, you have a question, you need answers, you read it, and it'll give that to you. And you ask Jesus for what's his plan for you. What are his goals to get you where you need to go? And that's another thing too, is like a lot of people pray and say, oh, I need this, or, oh, I want to do this. And it's like, no, you have to ask God, please, whatever path you have me on, show me the way, show me how I can do this for you, and show me where I need to go, because it's not about you. It's about, he has a goal and a plan in mind, and you're just trying to find the path of least resistance to get that done. And he can help you out with that.
100%. Amen. Great words. It was a great show. Loved having you on, Shred. This is first guest pod for us here at Straight Talking. So don't think it'll be the last time that you and I talk. I think it's just the start of a great relationship, it seems.
I enjoyed this a ton.
Yeah, we had many great conversations already preparing for the show. And then this has just been such a great conversation. It went so long, 2.5 hours. I think this might be my longest show yet. So sorry I kept you on so long, but
you're good, man. I have nothing else to do anyways.
Yeah, we just kept talking, and the subjects. This is what we talked about in preparing for the shows. We just wanted it to be organic, and just whatever subject came up next, just continually roll with that. Nick, thanks for sticking out with us. We always like to thank Nick, the producer, for getting the clips together for us, making all the things happen, all the shots, changing the camera shots.
Shout out.
Yes, thank you. And then thank you, too, for the viewers, everyone watching at home right now, whether you're watching live, you watch us live. I know lots of you watch it back on the recording. It's where we get most of our views is after we post it. So if you're watching this back, go and follow Shred. Where can they all find your accounts? Just go ahead and shout out all three of your different types of accounts: Shred, America First Hub, and Alt Media Hub.
All of those are on Instagram: Shred News, Alt Media Hub, America First Hub, and then Shred Spiracies is another one. It's like my conspiracy channel. But if you want to look on other platforms, TikTok, YouTube, Rumble, and literally any other platform, like even weird ones like Clapper and stuff, I post on those. All just Shred News with a Z.
Shred News with a Z is how you can find them, folks. Well, thanks, Shred, for joining us. Thanks for everyone watching. And just a reminder, we always sign off every show with reminding you that America first, Christ is king, and freedom isn't free. Thank you so much. Thank you, Shred. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Good night.